Yeah, you wouldn't know what an SLR is. That's an SLS. That's an SLR. It's from 2006. 600 horsepower. It was 617.
Hey everyone, welcome back to DC MotorWerks. Today we've got a very special opportunity that presented itself to us. We've got a SLR McLaren and an SLS. So these are both supercars from Mercedes-Benz. The SLR coming out around 2005 and the SLS in 2011. So we got the sweet gull wing doors on this one. I forget exactly what they call the way that door works, but both super cool. And like I said, a very rare opportunity here to look at both of them together. So let's check them out. So let's start by seeing which one you think sounds better. We'll start with the older one here, the SLR. Does have the awesome side pipes. Sounds pretty good, wouldn't you say? Of course, the best part is getting in and out. Go ahead and see what you think of the SLS. Me personally, it's hard to beat a 156 or 159 soundtrack. It is amazing. Not to worry, both of these, the oil temperature is up to operating temperature, so no worry about giving these some revs. So here we've got the SLR book. This is actually the original training guide from when these were first released. Show you some of the highlights here. That gives you just kind of like the rundown of the car. See, this is the M155 engine. Neat little tidbit about that. People confuse it or say it's just a 113, but it is, as in the training guide, a completely new engine, not a redesigned M113. You can actually see here, 113, you see the spaces here between the cylinders. This is what's called an open deck block. You can see on this one, it is closed deck. Also uses a bed plate, whereas the 113 uses individual main bearings. So some differences there. It's also dry sump oiling on the 155. You can see here, even in the timing set, and the water pump drive is also different. Contrary to popular belief, it is a different engine, and hence the designation change to M155. So it gives you all the information. Those are your intercoolers. And so this is just a ton of information related to this car. So you got your bore and stroke, your engine configuration. Of course, it's a V8. compression ratio, which is a little lower because it's supercharged, 13 pounds of boost. You can get a nice dyno graph here. See that super nice flat torque curve there. 617 horsepower. Get your 51-49 weight distribution. So you can see, which is great in this diagram, that the engine is actually in the middle of the car. It's what they call a front mid layout. It's behind the front wheels. Here's your dry sump lubrication. This is your oil tank, your oil pan.
Nickel carbide silicone, like a seal. Interesting. 3-valve design, so we're 113, 2 spark plugs per cylinder. Series 132 valve springs cube shot and adapted to higher demands of SLR. So that means they're stiffer. Cube shot is special lightened modular design. Yeah, I guess that's longer. It's shorter. Now
You have been learned.
a redesigned 113, mister.
Yeah, once in a while, we're embarrassing for it.
So me personally, it's hard to beat the sound of a 156, 159 motor. So 156 is technically what's in the car behind us there, the 211 E63. And for the SLS, all the modifications, it was called the M159. They say that the SLR just has a 113 motor when it's really a 155. But anyhow, we're going to take these for a quick ride and show you what it's like to see both of these rolling at the same time. It's super exciting. Let's check it out. SLS. I said this has the naturally aspirated 159, 6.2 liter. And standard or base trim, it makes 571 horsepower. And the big improvement about this one is it's backed by the Getrag 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which is actually shared with a bunch of Ferrari models. So it's much more modern and much quicker shifting than the SLR, even though this did get a lot of complaints for how it shifted. But once you get it rolling, it does shift great. It's just not super responsive to your inputs, which it's really just programming, honestly. It's got power no matter where you're at in the rev range. It's just that low where you're sitting towards the rear of the car, the long hood, is an experience you don't get very often. Well, you have to be very careful, and thankfully this one does have sensors, parking sensors in the front, so you can know when you're getting close to something. Because if you look down the hood there, it is quite long, and even though you may think you have the depth perception to see how far in front the car is, you don't. You really need the sensors, and it would really do for a front camera to see how close you're getting to things. But it's one of the things you have to be cautious with in cars like these, as the SLR really isn't much better. So you get that nice rev match downshift. Here it just pop off shifts. It's just so good, just a wave of torque as it runs up to its just over 7,000 RPM red line. So I'd say this is the more lively of the two cars, whereas the SLR is a straight line monster. This one is just all around very enjoyable on a mountain road or whichever. It's super sharp. The inputs are almost instantaneous. And then you still get all your familiar Mercedes switchgear. We've got your different drive modes here. So we're in Sport Plus. You can go all the way to Comfort, and the shifts are early and soft and comfortable. And you can turn it up a notch to Sport, or all the way up to Sport Plus. Just keeps it in the lower gear. So got your traction control settings here. So you can set it to limited assistance, which they call Sport, or just turn it off. Your AMG button just puts it in the craziest settings it can get. It does keep the traction control on though, so you don't want to, it's quite easy to get the back end to step out on this car, so I want to keep it tame. So visibility is pretty decent out of these. You got good sized mirrors, you know, you got a nice big window to see out the back of, so it is easy to drive. Like I said, the main thing is just because you're so low slung with the long hood, it's just can be tough to judge where it's placed. See here, this park bottle, it's just Ease of pulls and pulls. There's no dips in the power. You know, just the more you give it, the more it's got. It's hard to beat. You're just hearing those downshifts. And if you want, throw it in comfort so you can just cruise along. Suspension's stiff, but it's compliant. It doesn't beat you up. You know, seats are comfortable but firm. Just a great driver's car that you can still drive, you know, daily or near daily and not be punished for it. Even though it is a Mercedes, you can't take it to just any dealer. Not everyone is trained for it, but it is a lot easier than some of these crazy exotics, like the one we're pulling up on, the Noble here, and also like the SLR. There's a special lift that was designed for that car, just to lift it. Whereas this one, you can put it on any lift. It's easy to work on. It's still a supercar, but a more simplified experience. Let's take a step back in time and take a look at the SLR. So here in the SLR, immediately you can feel this seems like a more serious car. I guess I gotta wear my seatbelt too, don't I? Safety first, guys, safety first. For now, anyway. So here in the SLR, immediately you feel this is a more serious car. It's a lot more vibrations and a lot more drama going on, even though this one has a quarter of the miles that the SLS does. It does have SBC or Sensotronic brake control brakes. So this is Mercedes' brake-by-wire system that they used on a few cars from the mid-2000s, the 211 E-Class, the 240 Maybach, and the SLR, as well as the 230 SLs. But it is kind of a strange feel, especially on the SLR with the carbon ceramic brakes. And then the brake pedal is floor mounted also instead of mounted above you, so the hinge point's different. And it does feel kind of strange, but one of the things I've always noted with the SLR is how sharp, almost twitchy the turn-in is. When you go to make the initial movement of the steering wheel, it is super responsive and sharp, which kind of makes it a little difficult to be smooth in a corner just because it's so responsive. Feel the supercharger hit there. You hear it whining in front of you. It is a fabulous noise and just tons of torque to shove you in the seat. Because the SLS is torquey, this is a whole nother level. But again, you settle it down and it cruises along quite nicely. Here you can see just the littlest input from the steering wheel has you changing directions. You can see just how sharp it is. I'd argue even a little sharper than the SLS. Like I said, it kind of gives it the trade-off of that little bit of a twitchy feeling. Let's hear that. Say the interior, it feels a little bit more a sense of occasion than the SLS too. But these did also cost near $500,000 when they were new. Just a nice, gentle but brisk acceleration there, and it's just, you're in your seat the whole time. It's still fairly quiet in here. So Mercedes has a good way of making a supercar that doesn't really have any compromise. And again, super familiar switchgear. And you also have the super sweet, like, fighter jet style starter here. You got to flip up the guard there in order to start it. It's kind of gimmicky, but a super cool touch. Controls from a regular SL, so a lot of it's, and then you got just a base radio that you would have found in like a C-Class. But hey, when you have that, who needs the radio, right? So this is a 2006 model. The SLS is a 2011. So there was almost pretty much you could say a decade of development difference between the two. And while the SLR here was co-built with McLaren, the SLS was built just by AMG. So kind of the same design philosophy. It wasn't a car taken from, it wasn't an SL that was adapted by AMG or, S-Class adapted by AMG.
Pay for the car.
You don't have to pay for me to drive them now.
Oh, we don't.
No, I'll do that as a favor.
I volunteer too.
I thought you were driving.
Track is the heat ring bad. Brother drove it here all the way up, put a pound of air.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed taking a look at the SLR and the SLS, but you may have seen this show up in the background. This just came into the shop yesterday. This is a 2005 Noble M400. So this is a British car, similar to a Lotus, but maybe you don't know anything about it. Maybe you do, but look forward for a video coming on that one soon. Figuring it out. Go ahead and do your lap or whatever. Well, we appreciate y'all staying in for checking out these two very special Mercedes supercars. So you let us know in the comments which one you prefer. Are you an SLR guy or are you an SLS guy? But we're going to tuck these back away, and we appreciate y'all watching and look forward to seeing you on the next video.
I really enjoyed driving this SLR for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me.
And bring us some more business. We can keep doing it.
I really enjoyed driving this one. The brakes are awful though.
Yeah, SBC brakes are just such a funny feeling, but that one just looks so damn cool.
I love the sound of it.
Yeah.
You lay into it and the supercharger and the exhaust.
It's night and day, even though they're meant to be both from the same brand supercars. They are totally different, but I think this is the driver's car, the one you can really enjoy. That's an occasion car. That's like, I want to feel the 2005 nostalgia.
And you need to go downtown to the club with your dress on.
Yeah, exactly. But this, you can just take it anywhere and do anything with it. And that's what I love about it.